Welcome to our Christmas Joy banner project. This is a really fun project. We've got Roc-lon layered with red burlap, and then we've got these loose jewelry findings put together, gold leaf letters. We've got a pretty topper and bottomer, so it's like a bell pull, and so it will just make a striking entryway or skinny wall kind of decoration for the holidays. Really a neat thing to have this painted moment, but yet have the texture of the burlap and stuff. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Okay, I've got my Roc-lon cut, and now what we're going to do is we're going to roll. I like the canvasy side. There's kind of a rubbery feeling side, not quite rubbery, but it's got a weird smooth thing. I prefer the canvasy side for myself. I've got my 2-inch roller in a plastic bag, and that's how you can keep them fresh in between painting. I have got, I'm almost always painting on black backgrounds and stuff, so I've always got a black roller going. And so I just keep it going rather than washing it out. I'm going to roll probably 2 coats on here, and I'm going to sand it after it dries. And what we're going to do today is we're going to make our banner, so it'll be the width of this. So I'm just going to do a big swath right in the middle so I don't make a mess all over everything. We're going to paint so this is going to be hanging in front of the lower bell pull piece that hangs at the bottom, and then this piece right here will actually be hemmed and glued in at the bottom. And it's like complicated, but basically if you make this just a double width so that you can hang it in front, then you'll have it laid out right. So I'm going to get that rolled and dried, and we'll be on our way. Okay, while we're waiting for things to dry, we can go ahead and get our tracing done. I love the tracing paper on a roll because it tears straight. I don't have to tape a bunch of stuff, and it's super duper ultra see-through. And that makes everything so much easier. Okay, so what we do is we've got, pardon me, got my pen sticks marking pen, and then I want to go ahead and give myself kind of the outline of my banner, because that's going to be an extremely important thing to me. I'm going to paint it a little bit more loosely than this pattern is. So this pattern is for my means, and then once I paint it, we trace it, and then it's exactly what I painted. But so for me, I'm going to give myself just kind of branches. And I advise this for you as well. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stroke your lines on, and then if you know where this line is, you're going to know whether you're inside or outside the line, and then you can make decisions on your painting based on that. So my pattern will be very simply done because I'm just going to go ahead and just make those basic lines. The other thing that you need to know is that we've got a little stencil for these guys, so you can just lay one of the lights over. You don't really need to trace those unless you want placement. So, but you could look at the placement on the pattern. Okay, so when you roll on a surface onto Roc-lon, sometimes it can be kind of, just have weird lifts. So you just give it a quick sand. Works just like wood, brings dust off and stuff like that. Just wipe it off and you'll be good to go. Okay, I'm going to roll on another coat of lamp black just to make it wet. Pardon me. Okay, so get that on there. Just a nice quick dash here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take, it's got to be wet everywhere. I'm going to take evergreen. I'm going to squinch it out on the palette. And then we'll take a little bit of sponge, sea sponge. I've got a really little piece here. I'm not sure how I ended up with such a small piece. I'm going to put on some black nitrile gloves. These are latex-free gloves, because I don't want my hands all goopy. I keep a pair of these by the sink so that when I'm cleaning out foam rollers and things like that, it keeps my hands clean. So I'm going to go into my evergreen, and I'm just going to go ahead and pounce all over my wet black paint. start on the side that you started rolling on so it's still wet. And the idea is that this is going to give some weird, interesting texture behind my painted needles. So that way I don't have to have like everything filled. This will give me an excuse not to fill every inch and make it easier and faster. Okay, and so because it's going wet and wet, it's going to fade in and it's going to not be so dark and strong and stuff. So I don't have to work so hard to get it to blend. If you get any place like that that gets a little solid, just go back into black. And then go back through anywhere where you want to brighten it up as it dries. Okay, rinse out your sponge and allow it to dry. Alright, so we've got the pattern traced and everything is on there. I'm going to take thinned burnt sienna and my Raphael brush. Raphael brushes are the supreme liner brush, and they're natural fibers, and I'll get that all kind of reloaded. They come to a perfectly ultra sharp point, and let me get it a little thinner. You want it really inky. If it's not inky, it won't flow. The way a Raphael is made is, and I'll get this on the palette so you can see, it's made so that there's a super really fat little belly in there. Do you see that? And then do you see how pointy that tip is? This brush has probably been, I'd give this brush for me maybe 5-6 years. They last and last. You can keep them for about 30 years as long as the moths don't get to them first. What you want to do is you want to create your branch lines, and you want them to be graceful and flowing. So you're just going to do a nice, heavier when you sit down, so make sure that you're pointing in the direction that you want the heavy part of the branch to flow from. And I'm wanting that heavier so that it does a natural flow. So you'll pull from the back side of it and then flick out to the edge. We want branches to fill into these little cut areas. So if you don't have them traced or you miss something, fill it in. Okay, and I'll just fill all of these in and let them dry. Okay, as I'm moving over my piece, I'm wanting to go straight down through, but I've got wet things here. So I've got an acrylic bridge, which has got a little foot on it, and because it's see-through, I can see like where I'm at on my design. You could make a wood bridge if you wanted one, but this allows me to get my hand up out of things, so I'm not running through my wet paint. Okay, I've got some missing things, and I'll just make them up. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of these, and then they're all repeated the same way, and they go really fast, so don't be afraid. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give ourselves a line of boughs, and we're going to repeat this with a couple of colors. It's got to be thin enough to flow. If it's not thin enough to flow, then it won't be very pretty. And what I'll notice is the first time I do it, I'll be like, just it won't be very beautiful. And then as I get my hand in the rhythm, then it'll be better. And once I get my paint the right consistency, oops, notice how fat and juicy that is. Okay, that's kind of what I want, but I'm not dragging the whole tip or the whole brush, I'm just dragging the tip. And we want to make sure we're going nice and big with this. And you're going to be somewhat covering up those branches, okay? So I'll let this one dry and I'll go back and fill in, and then I'll come back and show you the next layer. Okay, so I've got all of the first layer of the boughs done, and now what I'm going to do is go look for blank areas, and I'm going to tuck in little boughs, and I want to make sure I'm not running through wet things, so be careful. And so what I'll do is I'll just make a ghost bough, if you will. It's right in the middle of things. And so then this, and I want to make a point, this looks like many, many lines, and it looks like you're going to have to be like, oh my goodness, measure, measure, measure. But it's to be loose, and it goes really quickly. I timed myself, and let's see, where are we at? Yeah, this took exactly 10 minutes to get all of these done with the first coat. So really quick, really fast to do, especially if you'll let yourself loosen up a little bit. Oh, and make sure when you're doing your filler ones that you don't go all in the same directions. Okay, now we're going to go through with the same color, and we're going to fluff our pine boughs. Okay, so I'm going to pick on this big long guy right here. And I've done these guys right here, and you can see that these are way more filled in than these guys over here. And what I do is I just take my brush, really nicely loaded. You could never do this with a regular, if it doesn't have a fat belly, you need a different liner brush, so be careful of that. You could try a rake though if you wanted to. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to do little clumps of like 5 little strokes and kind of clump them down the bough. It doesn't have to line up with anything else, but I want to clump them so that it gives a little bit kind of a unique personality to it. Okay, so that's a fluffed pine bough, and then I'll go through and I'll fluff the bigger ones. I don't have to fluff everything. Okay, so now we're going to go in and we're going to highlight. We want these to be a little bit lighter weight, so we're going to do this more on our tippy toe of our brush. This is where you can cluster things into little little sets, kind of, so it gives it just a little bit more jazz. Okay, and then we're going to have another layer or two after that. Alright, now we are going to go with our brightest color, and that's olive green. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're just going to sparkle things up. And this we really want to pay attention to making some cute little patterns of clumps, which sounds really lame, but it just makes them really pretty and kind of fluffy, and it doesn't have to be everywhere. So just like makeup, you don't want to put too much on. You just want to highlight the pretty stuff. Okay, and we'll just go like that throughout the whole piece. Okay, as I'm getting ready to trace my base and my topper, I wanted to share that one thing that is really, really cool, get you out just a little bit, is when you empty one of your little cutting devices, you can put the 12-inch size roll inside, if I can get the end, and watch that. And then it just tears it off nice and straight, but it's a really handy way to keep your roll intact, and then you can just pop that puppy back in. Okay, we're going to shade the bases of some of these boughs with black green. So what we're going to do is just make them kind of disappear just a little bit so that it's a little bit more subtle. And then they're just kind of tucked a little bit. Pay attention to the boughs that are next to them. Don't make it be a blunt just like a blunt transition. So see how that makes them just a little bit more faded and gradual. Okay, I got my 4 colors out. We've got Country Red, Desert Turquoise, Hauser Light Green, and Butterscotch. I'm going to use these fingertip daubers to daub all through my stencil. They come with a little cap so that you can seal your paint. So as I'm doing these, I don't have to do all the red at one time. And it makes it really an affordable option rather than buying a whole bunch of brushes to do this. So what I'm going to do is just base in all of my, and I always tap it off on the palette just a little bit. I'm going to base in all of my light bulbs, and then I'll base all the backs in later, and I may just stroke those on. This looks like it's going to take more than one coat. I am going to do shading and highlighting, so I can probably skip 2 coats. If it's bad, I'll just realign it and do it again. Hello. Okay, so first light bulb. Alright, we're going to start with the orange bulbs. We're going to use saffron. And we're going to dry rub highlights in there with saffron. And we can repeat it if we need to. So we'll just work our way through the lights all at one time, and then when we come back, they'll be dry to go again. Okay, then we're going to repeat our highlights with saffron plus white, and I'll just brush mix that. And we're going to do that not as big as the original dry rub. Okay, I'm going to neutralize my brush with persimmon. So I'm going to dry rub and then wipe it all off with persimmon. And what that's going to do is it's going to make my brush be okay to load just persimmon now. So I don't have to get a new brush out. Just kind of neutralizes the color that's in there. And then we're going to take persimmon and we're going to make the glow of the bulb. And so we'll do that right next to the bulb and then bring it out as we start losing paint on our brush. Okay, and that's how we're going to make these little guys shine. Right next to the bulb. Could even be on the edge of it. And then bring that color out. There we go. We definitely want it to fade. Then we're going to go into persimmon and shade our bulb, even though we kind of already have done that with persimmon here, and make that into that orange kind of bulb. And then we'll repeat with traditional burnt sienna, or with just burnt sienna, I mean. Alright, then we're going to repeat our shading with burnt sienna, maybe just on the back sides, just to sink that puppy down just a little bit. Oops, stay in the lines. Yeah, I can dig that. Okay, so we're going to do our blue bulbs. I had to do a test bulb down here to make sure my colors were good. So we're going to start with Whispering Turquoise as our highlight on the bulbs. And we'll do that pretty much over the whole thing. And then we're going to mix Whispering Turquoise plus white, just a little brush mix, more leaning to the Whispering Turquoise side. Make sure you're dry and then get that highlight on there. Okay, then we're going to wipe out our brush really well, and then we're going to get neutralize our brush and then Desert Turquoise for the shine. And we could Desert Turquoise plus a teeny hair of Prussian. Teeny touch, just to take the chalkiness away. I think this is just a slight bit chalky. And give that the highlight. And I'm not sure I'm appreciating that there's any difference with the little bit of Prussian in that, so I'll just switch back to the Desert Turquoise. Okay, so we get the glow going. And now we're going to use our brush skills, and we're going to do very soft floats. And what that means is I'm going to go, so this is a strong float and then this is a soft float, and I don't know if you can really tell the darkness. So I'm going to load more on the front end of my brush rather than up this side of it. And then, well, too much water. And then I'm going to blend and then blend and then blend and really make it like really blended in my brush. And that's going to soften it out. I don't load too much paint, and we'll give it a little soft float in the front, not much pressure, and then we'll go for a heavier float in the back side. So then I'll just pick up a little bit more color, blend it really well. And then we'll do those back sides a little bit stronger. My brush is a little bit dry, so it's not going all the way to the edge, so I'll load a little bit of water. Oops. You always want to be able to see where the edge of your paint color is, so you always turn your project so that you can see your floating. Okay, so I think those are fine. Okay, we're going to do the red with Dragon Fruit and Red Alert, and mixed, just brush mixed. And I'm going to do the glow first. Okay, you can lean to whichever color is going to work better on your palette. So in my case, I'm leaning a little bit over to the Dragon Fruit, but I notice that sometimes I need to lean back over to the Red Alert. So something in the positioning is affecting that. And we'll repeat just to strengthen as needed. I can lean, once again, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Passion Fruit. I don't want it to get too pink though, so be careful of that. Or Dragon Fruit, not Passion Fruit, sorry. Okay, now we'll highlight the same color. I'm going to find some clean spots on my paper towel. And you're going to allow it to dry, and then you're going to repeat with just Dragon Fruit. Alright, we're going to take Dragon Fruit, Red Alert, and white. And repeat the highlights on the bulbs. Getting just a little bit glowier. Okay, yeah, maybe just a hair more white. By doing the dry rubbing first, when you do your shading after, then it becomes a wash or a glaze over the highlight, and that makes everything kind of belong as a family. And speaking of that, I know that I'm going to be putting the red glitter on here, so I'm going to brighten those just a smidge more because those will tone that down just a little bit. Alright, we're going to shade the ends of the bulbs with Napa. And I'll come back and get the back end with a little bit heavier Napa, and then we'll repeat with Dioxazine Purple. See how that wakes up that the dry rubbing. Okay, our last set of bulbs is our green, and we're going to highlight with Limeade. And this seems like it might be a little bit bright, so I'm going to mix just a little bit of Limeade plus my Hauser Light, and that'll take care of that. If you ever want a color to become a family member with your other colors, mix them together, and that makes perfect little family members. Okay, so then we'll just repeat the highlights, continue the highlights. We can go just Limeade in the middle there just to brighten that, and then that gives us that nice graduated fade. Okay, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go into Festive Green and do my glow with the Festive Green. It's just got a little bit of an electricity to it, so that gives it a nice pop, especially since we're green on green here. I think it's kind of fun to make these little bulbs look like they're glowing on the branches. It's just a really neat reason to be an artist. Okay. So do I think that's enough? I think so. And then we can go just with a shade of Festive Green. And throw your brush. And that's just going to make everybody feel like they belong together. And then I'm going to deepen with one color or the other. I haven't decided yet. I'll give it a little test. Okay, we're going to deepen with evergreen. Make that nice and big on the back end of those bulbs. And you can kind of take it, I'm liking it, taking it down one side a little bit more, just to not have it be just outliney looking. So I just kind of drag it down that side and then go across kitty corner. And blot, oops, yeah, blot with your finger and then leave your fingerprint. Okay. Alright, I think we can call these bulbs kind of done, except for now we get to do the fun stuff. We're going to take the Glamour Dust Ultrafine Glitter Paint. Make sure you shake it up really well. Mine have been upside down, so I think I'll be good to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to take them and apply. I hope I can't do the green first, it's still wet. We're going to apply this in just a single coat over each of the bulbs. And it will add glitter and shine and a little bit of glam, and this stuff does not come off. It is really, really cool stuff. So it's glittery, but you're not going to end up with glitter residue all over the place. Make sure to keep it on your bulb only, because the tree shouldn't be glittery. Okay, we're going to choose just a few of these and we're going to bury them in the bulbs. So what I'm going to do is just brush my bow colors over the bulb. Okay, and that's just going to give us a little teeny bit more depth so that we can actually pretend like they're on the tree within the tree, if that makes sense. Repeat with the other lighter colors. Okay, I've got super thick leaf adhesive. We're going to gold leaf our letters, and I'm going to pour this out on my palette. Yeah, it doesn't pour very well because it's super thick. Ah! Okay, we don't want it all to escape. Okay, we're going to use a jumbo dauber, and use one of your older jumbo daubers. That way you don't get all kinds of gunky stuff all over this. And then we're just going to pounce the gold leaf right on top. I've got a little crease in my jumbo dauber, so it's making a little pattern. And this stuff is really sticky. You don't want to be touching it, so I'm going to use the back end of my paintbrush to hold my letters down. And it stays sticky until you put the leaf on it. So it will be sticky forever, and you can also varnish it to get rid of the stick. Make sure you get a nice even coat. And then when you wash this out, you want to wash it out right away. And that way you can reuse your jumbo dauber. And it will dry clear. It's almost like the tack it over and over. Sometimes I wonder if they're not a similar product. Okay, I just cut the edges of my pattern out with some little sharp scissors. And then I cut some of them a little bit longer. I might have to patch that paint so that it doesn't show, my pattern doesn't show. And then I left a piece of the back. This is the back of Roc-lon. And not sure how I'm putting it all together. I was going to do a topper and bottom like art project, and then when I put it all together just now, I think I need to simplify it. So right now I'm just leaving that attached, and then I'll come back to you and show you what I do to make it all work together. Okay, we're ready to apply our leaf. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open these books, and then some of this is sticking out, so I'll just use some of that. And just apply it on there and just press it down, and then you just tear it out and you apply to the next area. You tear that and apply to the next area. Make sure you get it covering all the areas. And you use a little leafing puff to buff off the little edges, and that just tears it off gently. Okay? Okay, so we're going to put our, I'm waiting for my stuff to dry over here. We're going to put our little jump rings onto our letters to hook them together. So you just thread them through, and then you use a little needle nose plier to tighten it up. Probably 2 pair of needle nose pliers would be nice. Anyway, and they're just going to hang like that. Okay, we're going to take our big flat brush or an angle shader, either one, and we're going to float the tips of our surface here. Just kind of let it scatter along. And that just gives us just a little bit of weight instead of just a big old shiny thing. Gives us a little antiquing. And we might even could deepen it with black. That's burnt umber. Let's wait till this guy dries. Let's see if we can't just sneak in a little blacky brown kind of color. Way out there on the tips. It's a little bit much. Just that soft blaze of it. Okay. Okay, to knock the big bits off, what I've got is the Italian sash brush in a small size. And I'm just going to go ahead and just work into all of those little cracks and stuff. And then when I get it really, really knocked back, what I'm going to do is take my a flat-ended brush and just kind of scrape inside of the areas where they're still sticking, and then I'll brush it some more. And then you can save these little bits and use them on projects, so don't throw them away. Alright, as I'm figuring out how to put this thing together, what we're going to do is we're going to have this flap over, and we'll make a little burlap sandwich, and it'll fit within, and then we can hang our chain. I will show you all of this in a minute, but we need to be able to have this part that's going to hang over in front, so that's going down to, it's going to just hang down to about there, but I want to paint just a little extra, just in case. So I'm just going to paint this big area right here with the black, and then do the green over the top of it, and then let it dry. And I've got a piece of wax paper so that I don't make a mess on my banner. And that's just going to disguise itself as part of the banner when we flip it over. And we'll probably cut it like we did the branches and stuff like that. You can paint the back if you want to. Do that earlier before you do all your front detail. Allow this to dry. Alright, to get this put together, I folded over the flap and I'm pulling it through so I don't mess up my burlap. And then I'll unfold it. Ideally, this should be black. Okay. And then that'll just go over the top. Straighten out your burlap. Okay, I can dig it. Get everybody kind of adjusted to where you want them. Fold things, bend things, all that kind of stuff. And then the bottomer is going to go on the bottom. Get some space here. And it's going to fold. What we're going to do with it is we're going to give it a little, a glue hem kind of situation. Okay, and I'll decide how much of that we want. I'm going to have to go press this, I think. Helps if you press the burlap. It makes it just a little bit more finished. And let me see. I'm going to put this through folded once I give it a glue hem. Let's see how much space I need. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide a dowel in this pocket, and the dowel is going to sit behind this little dude, and you're not going to be able to see it. That's how that's going to stay in there. So do I think that that's enough space? I think it's probably pretty close. Okay, so I'll get that pressed. Okay, what I'm going to do is just put a couple of glue spots. You could use just any kind of whatever glue you got. I'll do a couple of running glues. Fold it over. There's something that you don't mind touching the glue. Okay, I'll let that cool. Okay, now I've got that threaded through, and I'm going to find the slot there. I'll just line that up with the back. The slot, and then you pull it real tight. There we go. Okay, so we're going to just attach these loops up here to the loops down here with just some gold wire. I love the idea of this kind of free hanging jingly jangly thing. So just make sure that they're the same length. That's going to be a little bit of adjustment, but the wire adjusts easily enough. The neat thing about this wire is it's super, super, super soft, so it bends easily. Okay, so we'll just twist that around. This is the part of videos I hate because it's always fumbly looking, so sorry about that. But I think this one needs a little bit of describing about how you put it together. Okay, so we think probably right about there. So back that up. Got a little kind of a fold to tell me where I think I want it. I think I'm not liking the idea of my dowel for the bottom because the weight of it is not hanging right. So I'm going to have to go ahead and just glue my hem in, so I'll just feed this through, and this will just be a permanent banner situation, and then I'll give myself a couple of glues to hold it together, just maybe one in each corner. Okay, I've got everybody assembled, and I love it with the little jangly thing. I love the idea of my painted Roc-lon with the burlap fabric. Get everything positioned. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of clear tacky spray, and I want what I've got going on here. I want to be able to take this baby apart so it stores well. And so obviously I've connected the top or the bottom to it's permanently adhered here. But I don't want all this other stuff laying on top of each other, so I've just put 2 sets of magnets there to hold it together. But I don't like this is floppy. So I'm going to take it outside, give it a little spritz right here in the middle of this tacky spray, and then I'm going to just tack that down to it, just a little bit of tacky.